Good morning, students. I welcome you all for the online classes of economics. Hope your health is good and fine. Yesterday we had completed the topic that was the demand, meaning of money, barter system. Today we will be going to learn the forms of money. Some important forms of money are described as under. See here, students, may I think you will be having some questions in your mind that money is also having some type. Yes, definitely, money is having a type. From the older age till now, there are different forms of money. The very first type is fiat money and fiduciary money, and the second category is full body money and credit money. Let us take the fiat money. Fiat money and fiduciary money. Fiat money refers to that money which is issued by order or authority of the government. May I think from the line itself the meaning is clear. That type of money which is issued by the government, that is authority of the government by the RBI, Reserve Bank of India, that all money is considered as fiat money. It can be in any form, it can be in the form of notes, it can be in the form of coins. So all that notes and coin which is issued by the government, it is considered as fiat money. It includes all notes and coins which the people in the country are legally bound to accept as a medium of exchange. Fiduciary money. Fiduciary money is that money which is accepted as a medium of exchange between two persons on the basis of trust, and that two persons are the payer and payee. Example, the check. You yourself know checks are fiduciary money because it is accepted as a means of payment on the basis of trust. One person makes a payment through the check and other is ready to take it just on the basis of trust. That definitely the person who is giving the check is giving you the money. So that type of money is considered as fiduciary money, the money which is accepted as a medium of exchange on the basis of trust. The second category of money, that is full body money and the credit money. Full body money refers to money in terms of coins whose commodity value is equal to the money value as and when these are issued. Example, a rupee coin during the British period in India was made of silver. Commodity value of coin was equal to its money value at the time of its issue. If it is not clear in this statement, let me make you clear. In simple terms, one coin is there made up of metal. You know the worth of a metal, silver, it is costly. But that time the price which is printed on the coin, that is rupees 1, is the original value of the silver. It is not that people will be measuring the 1 rupee silver coin with the actual price of silver. So that time, though the silver is costly metal, but the thing was the silver value was that what was printed on it. That the market value of the silver contained in the coin was equal to rupees 1 if the value on the silver is written as 1. If it is a 5 rupees coin and the silver coin, then its value will be 5, not the cost of the silver. So that money is considered as full-bodied money or full-bodied money. Now the credit money. See here, students, the credit money refers to money which money value is more than commodity value. Like example, what is the market value of the metal that the rupee coin is made of in India? You are seeing nowadays the coin, it is not silver coin. It is made of some alloy metal. So that coin's value, whatever thing is printed, is the value of that metal. If it is printed as 1, the value of that metal coin is 1. If it is printed as 10, then the value of that metal coin is 10 rupees. If it is printed as 100, 10,000 has now the RBI had issued that type of coins also, then the value of that metal is considered as 10,000 and so on also. So that is considered as which money? Credit money. So may I think the types of money is clear to people? We have learned two types, mainly there are two types of money. One is fiat money and fiduciary money, and the second type is full-bodied money and credit money. Fiat money, once again, issued by the government, that can be in the form of coins and notes. Fiduciary money, the money which is given in the form of, on the basis of just a check, on the basis of trust, it is issued between the two persons. It is considered as fiduciary money. Full-bodied money and credit money, they are having some relationship. One is that though it is a silver coin or gold coin issued at the time of kings and queens, but the value of that time, that silver and coin, was not actually the worth of the silver coin. It was the value which is printed on the silver or the gold coin. So it makes the value of that metal to be down, because that time the silver coins, if it is printed as 1, the value of that silver, total silver metal, is ₹1 only. Now the credit money is that money in which though the value of the metal is low, but still whatever thing is printed, maybe the 100, 10,000, that will be the value of that particular metal. So that money is considered as credit money. The value of metal is much more higher. Now the types distinguish between money value of money and commodity value of money. Let us have some questions and their answers as odds. Money value of money refers to the value which is inscribed on a coin or written on a paper note. Thus, money value of a paper note is what is written on it. 100 rupees, 500 rupees, etc. With a 500 rupee note, you can buy goods and services worth 500 rupees in the market. Commodity value of money refers to value of the commodity, like metal, that the money is made of. Thus, if coins are made of gold or silver, as was a practice in old days, commodity value of money refers to the market value of the gold or silver contained in the coin. I think the meaning is clear, the difference between the money value of money and commodity value of money. So money value, I think the points are clear. Money value, once again, if you people want to know, the value which is printed on the note or the coin is considered as a money value. Like for example, on a paper 500 issued by RBI, on that 500 is printed, then the value of that paper is 500 rupees. If it is printed as 100, then the value of that paper is 100 rupees, but it must be issued by RBI. Commodity value of money, we are talking, commodity means thing. So that earlier time when the kings and queens were living, that time also currencies were there, but it was made up of gold or silver. So that value of that gold and silver is considered as commodity value of money, irrespective of the value which is inscribed on the coin or the paper. Can you think of a situation when money plays no role whatsoever? Money plays no role in a situation when there is no exchange. Example, the barter system, or it can be taken one more example. An individual or a family surviving on an island without any exchange is considered as no value of money. Because one more example we can take, a farmer giving the crops to his own family is considered as no value of that crop, because the farmer will not value the crops that moment in the terms of money, because he is just giving that crop as a need of the family. So there the value, money plays no role. Why people hold notes and coins when it is clear that the intrinsic value, commodity value of notes and coins is almost negligible? Because notes and coins are legal tenders. These are fiat money or the money backed with authority of the government, that is RBI. It is unlawful and not to accept notes and coins for receipts and payment. So that is the answer to the question. People hold notes and coins when it is clear that the intrinsic value of notes and coins is almost negligible. Functions of money. The next topic which we will be going to learn is functions of money. Basically, there are two functions of money: primary function, secondary function. Primary function, when we talk, Money performs two primary functions which are as under. The very first function which is done by the money is medium of exchange, and the second function of primary function of money is measure of value or unit of value. Let us have the brief explanation of the two functions. Medium of exchange. See here students, whenever we are doing business, we want to do the business in exchange term. There the medium of exchange is money. Whatever goods we are having, we will exchange with the next person who is in need of that goods in terms of money. So that is the very first primary function of money, that is medium of exchange. Money acts as a medium for the sale and purchase of goods and services. In the absence of money, goods were exchanged for goods. This required double coincidence of wants, implying that exchange was difficult and therefore limited. The introduction of money has separated the acts of sale and purchase. Double coincidence of want is no longer a repetition. I think this line you is getting, it was in the barter system where double coincidence of want was a must. Means two persons must need each other things whatever they are having, then only they can exchange. Exchange is now much simpler and therefore unlimited. Exchange function of money has changed the nature of production activity as well as the level of production activity. The nature of production activity has changed because production now is done for the market, not for self-consumption. I think the line is clear. Earlier, whatever thing we were producing, it was be having some limitation. How much we can give to someone else, how much other will be needing, that much only we will be producing. Means we want to exchange the crops with another person who is having the cloth and the shoes. For that one cloth and one pair of shoes, whatever way we can produce, that much only we were producing, not thinking much more than that. But now medium of exchange has it is money, what lump sum amount of goods we can produce and we can make its exchange, that is sale and purchase, with the concept of money. Whatever things we will produce, though it is in excess quantity, but it can be sold off in the market with the terms of money. The second thing is measure of value or unit of value. Yes, definitely nowadays whatever thing is produced, either the goods and services, everything can be valued in terms of money. So the thing has been said, money helps us to measure the things. It is measurement of value or unit of value. Money serves as a measure of value. In other words, it serves as a unit of account. Unit of account means that the value of the each goods or service is measured in the monetary unit. Measurement of value was very difficult in the barter system. One good was valued in terms of the other. There was no common unit of value. Introduction of money has removed this difficulty. Now each good is valued in terms of money. I think the line is clear. And the barter system, you yourself can imagine that how could a farmer who is producing the rice can exchange with that crop with one pair of shoes, because at that moment that exchange can be possible because the farmer is not knowing the value or the worth of one pair of shoes, and similarly the farmer itself is not knowing the value of the crop which he is exchanging with the another person in placement of one pair of shoes. Next is one more example we can take here. It is because of the existence of money as a common unit of value that we are not able to construct consumer price index, that is CPI, and the WPI, the wholesale price index, which is helpful to us to know what is the demand of the consumer and what is the way wholesale price can be put is put by the wholesaler for the sale of for the production of the goods. Consumer price index reflects cost of living of the people. This cost of living of the people itself tells the demand of the people, how much they are demanding for the living of the life. Wholesale price index showed the rate of inflation in the country. That I already said, the wholesale price is determined by the wholesaler for the particular type of goods, and that wholesale price tells us what the way the inflation, that is price rise, is going on. The next function of money after the primary function is secondary or subsidiary function. In secondary function of money, we will be categorizing it into three parts: standard of deferred payments, store of value, transfer of value. Standard of deferred payments, future payments. Deferred payments refer to those payments which are made sometimes in the future. Like for example, electricity bill. When we are consuming the electricity first and then we are paying the bill of that we have consumed. In earlier time, barter system or the alignment time, it was not possible. Money has made deferred payments much easier than before. When we borrow money from somebody, we have to return both the principal as well as interest amount. Sometimes in the future, and I think you know very well, when your parents are taking loan from the bank, they have to pay the principal amount as a loan, and as well as they have to pay interest monthly for taking such loan. Money is a convenient mode of those payment. It is difficult to make such payment in terms of goods and services. Imagine that you have taken a loan from somebody in terms of wheat. How difficult it is to return this loan in terms of wheat of the same quality. This function of money has led to the emergence of financial market. The market that offers funds for investment as well as the purchase of consumer durables. Availability of funds through financial market has led to a multiple increase in consumption expenditure as well as investment expenditure. Accordingly, there has been a multiple rise in the level of production activity across all parts of the world. So that is the standard of deferred payment. As in the barter system, it was very difficult, but now in this presence of time, when the exchange is done in terms of money, it is very easy, because a person who is taking loan will be clearly knowing how much extra money they have to pay as in the form of rate of interest, and up to what time they have to pay. But in earlier barter system, where the goods were the medium of exchange, that time it was very difficult what the another person had to pay extra when they are taking the goods in terms of loan. Store of value. Store of value. Definitely in barter system, storage of value cannot be done, because it was not so easy to handle the goods for a longer period of time. But when we are seeing now the generation, when it is using the money as a source of exchange, there it is possible. When we are having lump sum savings from our income, we can save that savings either in the banks or at our home, and further we can make the investment in many good projects. But earlier during the barter system, it was very difficult to handle the goods for a longer period of time so that we can exchange it with someone else. Store of value implies store of wealth. Storing wealth has become considerably easy with the interaction of money. Wealth can be stored just in terms of paper titles like FDR, fixed deposit receipt. It was not convenient to store value in the barter system of exchange, because goods tends to wear out or perish. Stored wealth is a source of future investment, and investment is the key to growth and development. Here it may be mentioned that stored wealth must be converted into investment. It should not remain as idle saving. In the circular flow model chapter, we have learned that idle saving leads to leakage. It leads to a fall in aggregate demand, which lowers the level of output and employment in the economy. The third is transfer of value. Definitely students, nowadays when we are having one account at our bank, or we are having some money at our home, we can easily transfer it to banks, or from banks to some another banks, or to our home. But that time it was very difficult. It is easier now because money is lighter value. But that time the commodity, when we imagine, that was very difficult to make transfer of goods from one place to another. Money serves as a convenient mode of transfer of value, that is wealth. It is a transfer of value which has led to the emergence of MNCs, multinational corporations. Accordingly, the concept of global economy has come into existence. So that is the transfer of value. Besides these three secondary function and the two primary function, there is one more function of money, that is static and dynamic function. Functions of money are also viewed as static function and dynamic function. Let us see what is static function and dynamic function. See, a student, some of the time board exam, this question has been asked because it is separate topic which is given in the corner of the page. And not only that, students don't know about the static and dynamic function. Let us learn the static and dynamic function. Static function. Static functions of money refers to conventional functions of money. This basically include the primary and secondary functions of money, that is medium of exchange, measure of value, store of value, transfer of value, and standard for deferred payments. Performing these functions, money helps in regulating the economic system. I think the static function is clear by the simple word which is written in that particular page, that it refers to conventional form of functions of money. What the way we can use the money? It is used as medium of exchange. That is static function. For every type of transaction which we are doing, that sales or purchase we are doing, we will do in the terms of money. So that is static. We cannot exchange in terms of another things. Measure of value. Now till now, after the barter system went, each and every things which is valued, each and every goods or services, whatever we are producing, it is valued in terms of money. Store of value. Definitely all the things are stored in the forms of value. Like I had purchased a pencil box. Definitely I will be telling that what is the store of value of that particular pencil box. Transfer of value, whatever amount we are transferring from one place to another, it is easily known to us. Like for example, 10,000 transfer from my bank account to someone else, can be easily known because it is considered, it is valued in the terms of money. So these are the general functions of money which is considered as static functions because this is fixed. Performing these functions, money helps in regulating the economic system. Now comes the dynamic function. Dynamic function of money refers to those functions of money which impart stability of the economy and accelerate the pace of growth and development, means totally our economy. Thus, it often by expanding the supply of money or purchasing power that the governments all over the world try to tackle the situation of economic slowdown in the economy. That is considered as dynamic function. Means what the role of money in this particular changing world, how it can promote our country to have an economic development. That all functions will be of money is considered as dynamic function. So the things are clear. I think static function in that we have made a group of all those functions of money which is static, which is fixed, which shows its role, and the dynamic function where the economy of the country can be known with the help of money is considered as dynamic function. So these are the two functions which you have to learn with the two functions, that is primary function and secondary function of money. The next topic which we will be having, that will be supply of money. But before that, let us see why money is a dynamic factor and how. Money is a dynamic factor because it has led to the growth of exchange to infinite limits, implying expansion of market and expansion of aggregate demand. It has led to the growth of financial markets. These markets are a source of funds for investment as well as consumption expenditure. Accordingly, levels of production and consumption have significantly risen over time. The third, it has facilitated flow of capital from one place to the other and from developed countries to less developed countries, implying the emergence of a global economy and multinational corporations. Briefly, money is a dynamic factor as it has imparted dynamism to the process of production, consumption, investment and exchange. This particular answer straight over says that whatever production we are doing, whatever objective, but the thing is that money is the factor which makes it dynamic. As now whatever earlier farmers were producing, but they were not knowing where they can sell, how they can sell. But money, it has made the thing easier. Wherever the things will be sold in all over the world or at any corner, the value of the goods will make the sale of the goods to any corner. That makes it dynamic factor. It has the goods worth is known. It can be sold off to any places with the worth of the goods. So that can make as dynamic factor. Besides that, the three lines which makes it dynamic, I think it is clear. It is dynamic factor because it lead to the growth of exchange of infinite limits. We can make a growth of our country to a infinite level which we have not thought of. So that is makes the money value as dynamic. It has led to the growth of financial market. Definitely, by you can know the share value of the companies, and you in whichever company you want to invest, you can make the investment in that particular companies, and you can make the growth of that company. So that financial market condition can be improved by the help of money. This market are a source of fund for investment as well as consumption expenditure. I think the factors are clear, which makes it the money is a dynamic factor. In the next class, we will be going to learn the next topic, that is supply of money. Till that time, thank you.